Welcome to this episode of Whiskey and WealthTech. I'm your host, Alex Serman, Managing Director of Wealth and Institutional here at First Rate. Today I'm joined by Bart Vanhaeren. So Bart, thank you for joining me on this episode.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here.
So as you might notice, we are holding Stella Artois. We're actually in Leuven, Belgium at the moment in the old Stella Artois brewery.
Exactly.
So why are we here, Bart?
Well, our company InvestSuite, which we founded 6 years ago, has its headquarters here in this brewery. Mm-hmm. And it's a special place for us because this building is more than 100 years old. So it's the first factory of the world famous beer Stella Artois was here in this factory.
Wow.
And whole this area was part of the brewery of Stella Artois, but over the years, you know about the merger with the Brazilians and so forth. Mm-hmm. The factory has moved to other places, and this building has been, let's say, renovated, gentrified, as I would say, I think.
Okay.
And now it's the home of many tech companies, creative companies, design agencies, restaurants, and so forth. And so for us, as InvestSuite, there's much more to it, but most of us are from Leuven. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's a symbol to be here. With InvestSuite, we're trying to develop cutting-edge solutions for our clients, but it's great to mix old tradition and new. And when you're in our offices, you see that our machinery, we're busy with AI, etc., etc. So that's a beautiful blend, this old and new in one building.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been absolutely incredible. So with that, cheers.
Cheers.
It's very good. And so we've got the kettles around us, and you're right, your office is absolutely stunning with all the machinery and all that stuff. The history here is incredible. So InvestSuite, tell me a little bit, how did you get started? What's your background?
Yeah.
And, what made you form this firm?
Interesting. So I worked 20 years for the KBC Group, which is a medium-sized bank in Europe. And I think I can say that KBC is within Europe known to be innovative, digital, and so forth. And I had the pleasure of being an intrapreneur at KBC, so setting up companies for KBC, including trading platform like with Robinhood in USA, but a bit smaller than, and many other things. And in my last years, I was actually also writing a book about startups, about crowdfunding. I was also the director of their startup incubator program, a little bit like the Founders Arena to a certain extent. And at some point, I said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, so moving from intrapreneur to entrepreneur. And second point was that, whilst developing with my team these digital solutions at KBC Bank, I noticed it's very, very hard. At the same token, digital wealth management is taking off. So our hypothesis when setting up the company was that many banks, financial institutions can use a third party to help them, like you do with First Rate, to launch these solutions for their customers. And also important was that we wanted to do that in a B2B fashion. Because it's very hard to go B2C, a lot of marketing, etc., etc. So that was another point. And from a more mission perspective, my co-founder and our co-founders and myself, we also wanted to contribute to the democratization of finance globally, in particular in the area of investments and wealth management.
Absolutely.
So these were our drivers, and that's why we set up InvestSuite. There's a bit of history related to the building, because when I was at KBC, I actually I wrote a book about startups, and I did my book presentation here in this building.
Wow. Okay.
So that I never
really
never realized that a few years later I would be actually sitting here having a startup, and even going back to when I was a very young boy, this area didn't exist. It was the factory was more or less gone. Like you was a bit downgraded, and then slowly but surely the city renovated everything. But I remember playing here outside in some old boats in a desolated area. So it's a full circle on many levels indeed.
Wow, that's incredible. And so, I mean, you've had a very interesting journey going from intrapreneur to entrepreneur, wanting to democratize financial wealth, investment management, which is an absolutely incredible goal that, us at First Rate very much agree with. And so you mentioned the Founders Arena, kind of that wealth tech accelerator program. So you were in the first cohort of the Founders Arena. Tell us a little bit about that process and what that was like for you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in general, it's not easy for a European fintech to get into USA. It's a big market. Everybody wants to be there. I've been told that there are very, very few European fintechs, let's say, even from our size in USA. So we were in contact with some, let's say, individuals in USA who knew the landscape there very well, and they brought us in contact with, hey, this Founders Arena exists. Is this not something for you guys? And we've been in a number of other, let's say, corporate programs, corporate initiatives, and that all starts always very well. You're very happy. Hey, I can be with this company, and you know what can happen. So, but from the start, there was a quite rigorous entry process. So it was very serious with Marshall and other colleagues of yours. So they also talked about it. So we were really eager to get in. So we were super happy to be in this first cohort. And then, and I also told that when I was in Arlington, Texas last year, for us, it's really, I'm not saying this because you're now standing next to me, but it's really one of the best programs we've been in, and we've been in a few. And for a variety of reasons, there is the drive of your founder, Dave and Trina, behind this program. There's a drive of your board with Pam. So it's at a very high level, this is driven, and that you can feel, that you can see, it's genuine. The city of Arlington is involved, many other very large players are involved. So it's a very serious program, and they take it very seriously, and that you feel. The way it's set up, the way the support we received is just of another level. And then what is very crucial is that you get in contact with your clients, with other banks, because that's important for a tech company to be able to network and to sell your solutions.
Absolutely.
And so that has been a really success. We've been invited to and introduced to many US players. And now we're at the stage that, I think we're very close to our first clients in the USA. And I have to say that program was a real important step for us in that journey.
Well, appreciate that. And, you know, absolutely with the networking, getting involved, you know, with it being a rigorous process, it really does weed out a lot of firms that, you know, aren't quite serious. And so I'm happy to say that, you know, you guys have been a really big success story out of that. And to the point now that we're here in Leuven today talking about our partnership.
Exactly.
That, you know, is being announced, and that we're working together on incorporating your Storyteller product into our core reporting platforms. So tell me a little bit about what Storyteller is and what kind of value that adds to consumers.
So in essence, taking into account our mission of democratization of finance, contributing to increasing financial literacy, Storyteller, we developed Storyteller because when people get their financial reports, their portfolio performance reports, whether it's from a retail bank or an advisor or a private bank, we often heard, this is hard to read, I don't understand everything, it's too long, and with this very strong desire, we have to do much better than that. And so we're also fans of Disney and Pixar. By the way, we want to be the Pixar of the WealthTech sector. And so in Pixar, we like the fact that they combine high tech and creativity and design. And we thought, let's take our inspiration from Pixar and Disney, if you wish, or ancient old storytelling techniques, talking about a hero and a villain, to make it really understandable for people and also nice to read things. Because aesthetics, beauty, it's much nicer when you go to a restaurant and the food may be amazing, but if it doesn't look good, it's not very nice to eat it.
Yes.
And we think the same for your report. Like, why not make it beautiful? Why not make it easy, digestible? And so we came up with this idea. We tried it out. We got people said they were very interested, and so step by step we kind of improved it. And as you may know, we have the PDF version, we have mobile, the web, video, and the podcast. So what we hope to achieve with that is that many more people can understand their portfolio, and that it just becomes very clear to them, very understandable. And we have various use cases for retail clients, private banking clients, but also pension funds members. So besides yourself, you're also active in UK with large pension funds. They want to also increase the way that people can read their pension reports, because at the moment it's for some people very hard to do that. So the desire to do something different, something better, and hopefully we contribute a little bit to, again, to increasing financial literacy. And with respect to yourself. So again, for us, US market is super, super big. For us to go individually to advisor or banks is almost impossible. And so that's why this partnership could be of extreme value. I hope for us and for your clients.
Absolutely.
And for their clients.
Oh yeah, and I mean, many people that are investing their money are not necessarily financial professionals.
Exactly.
So having something that's easy to read, understandable, because I mean, wealth is such a huge part of their lives that you don't want to be confused and misunderstanding what's going on.
Exactly.
So making that very clear and easily accessible to people is an incredible goal. And so now I'm thinking, we're standing in a brewery talking about Pixar. When's Pixar going to come out with the next movie about?
Maybe about beer brewing.
Somebody brewing beer in Belgium.
Like a new beer, new type of beer that everybody loves. That would be a good idea. Maybe when they see these beautiful surroundings, they get some ideas.
They get some inspiration.
A mouse or whatever working in amongst the kettles or popping out of one of these kettles. Why not? It could be for a good movie, I guess.
Oh, that would be great. And so, being based in Belgium, there's a lot of different wealth tech trends that are going on globally. And so, what are some of the biggest trends you've seen here in your local market?
You have to say that, take a step back, Belgium has always been, from a banking point of view, quite digital. So when you look at, there are not that many neobanks or disruptors here because the banks have, to a certain extent, always offered quite nice digital solutions. I like the bank where I worked, they were one of the first to launch an online broker in Europe. So they were very early in the game. Here in Belgium, they were one of the first with a chatbot and so forth and so further. If you look at the private banks and the wealth managers, there is a bit of a trend going on in Europe or in the Benelux, whereby for very small ones, I'm not sure if it's the same in the USA, but for very small ones, it becomes very hard to meet the regulatory requirements, the compliance requirements on the one hand, and to invest in digital. So it's not so much to do with digital, but one trend is definitely that the small ones are being picked up. Right?
Okay.
So that is one trend that we see.
A lot of like acquisition and merger.
There is quite a bit of that going on precisely for these points. In terms of the technology and so forth, so they of course also face the challenge of the trackers, passive funds, from a, let's say, from a instrument point of view. There is definitely a rise of the self-directed investor because a lot of platforms are available. So they have to also compete a bit with that. But of course, there's a lot of value that an advisor can give. But the end client expects then not only great service, great performance, but also digital tools to be at par with what's going on in the wider world. So what we've seen on that front is that it's a mixed picture, I guess. There are one or two who are front runners. The other ones, and that's maybe important to say, and I've seen that in Europe, have invested over the past years. I think it's fair to say, on average, that they were a bit behind the banks. But it's fair to say that they're trying to catch up, and in particular have been investing in the backend and the core banking system and the PMS systems. And then the next level, in appropriate API infrastructure, so that they can build the front. And for some of them, the challenge but still is to improve their backend processes, to make their infrastructure ready for the future, but at the same time not forget the front. And that's not an easy thing. And so that's a bit what we've seen, that quite a few have invested strongly in these backends and can now start looking more also at the front end.
Interesting.
In Copenhagen I was, so it's not in Belgium, but Europe is Belgium is not so big, so we're influenced by others. There was a lot of talk about AI, as you can imagine, and the use of AI for the customer, him or herself, because there's a lot of talk, a lot of hype, but what actually has been already done for the end customer. So, and was a big topic there. So I suspect an acceleration over the next 5 years. I think if you come back in 5 years, that it will look different. But I hope the kettles will still be the same.
Hopefully the kettles will still be here. They've been here for 100 years already. Still be here in 5 years, and absolutely would love to come back. And that's very interesting insights into the Belgian and kind of Western European markets. We're seeing a lot of similar things in the U.S. However, with the digitization that Belgian banks have seen, I think that's a little bit more forward-looking than some of the U.S. firms. U.S. financial institutions aren't always the most early adopter of consumers, but that it keeps them safe. And so this has been absolutely very fascinating talk with you, Bart.
Super.
Lovely place to be having this podcast in with some great Belgian beer, and
The real Stella Artois.
the real Stella Artois in the Stella Artois brewery.
Factory, yeah, exactly.
And so thank you again for joining me.
No,
it was a
thanks for having
pleasure,
me.
and hope to be back here in Belgium again soon.
I welcome you.
Cheers.
Cheers.